Welcome to a Trip to the Movies podcast. I am Tripp, and I'm welcomed by my co-host,
Nathan.
And today we have a bunch of topics we're going to talk about.
Yeah, dead time in movie season, so having to pull out some things to talk about.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Well, first off, we aren't going to crack anything open. I have my Mountain Dew.
I've got some LaCroix. There you go. We're going to talk about a certain movie that Tripp forced me to watch first, before we mention what that is. We're also going to talk about Birds of Prey.
Yep.
And then where that film fits in our overall DCEU rankings.
Definitely.
So, Tripp, go ahead and introduce the what we watched last night.
What we watched last night, right? So, we watched this amazing movie by the greatest filmmaker of all time, Neil Breen. And if you guys are unfamiliar with Neil Breen, he had...
I can't believe it.
He has made movies that are masterpieces. And you know what, Nate? I've seen 2 of his movies. I own 2 of his movies.
I can't believe that.
Nate, how about you talk about the movie that we watched last night called Twisted Pair, his newest movie that came out in 2018. Nate, can you explain the plot of Twisted Pair to me without looking anything up?
So, what I'm not going to do is justify this movie's existence or waste your time in explaining what the plot to this movie is, considering I have to explain the entire thing to actually have it make any sense. Because this movie is kind of crazy. It's groundbreaking in some ways. It doesn't follow a traditional 3-act structure.
No.
The structure it follows is how can we piss off as many people as possible and make something so atrocious that it actually makes me want to stop liking movies. It actually makes me just not want to ever watch a movie again.
So it was a good movie.
If your idea of a good movie is like getting impaled slowly on a spike by like Vlad the Impaler in the medieval times, if that's your idea of a good time, then that's what watching Twisted Pair is like.
Yeah. So Twisted Pair, how does it start off?
I really just...
Do you remember how that starts?
Because I kind of just went into a coma when this movie was on. I feel like I was violated by its existence. And I'm exaggerating, but I'm also not. I've never seen a Neil Breen movie because I've been told that he makes Tommy Wiseau look like a good director. And if anybody can do that, then I don't want to be part of whatever experience that is, because I've seen The Room. It's bad. But, man, if Twisted Pair didn't make The Room seem like an actually good movie, then, wow. He uses stock footage, stock music,
and freeze frames.
And freeze frames. And he just superimposes himself onto these images.
What about the costumes and the makeup?
What costumes, what makeup, Tripp? There was like a weird alien face that looked like Kilroy from the Styx album, Kilroy Was Here. Or those weird... No, the Mr. Roboto robots. That's what they are. That's not Kilroy, but they're on the cover. It looked like that. The fact that I know that album, that actually makes me cringe a little bit. But, God.
So, basically...
He misses his brother. Apparently.
Okay, tell who were these brothers?
Cade, played by Neil Breen. And Kale, also played by Neil Breen, but this time in a black hoodie a taped-on mustache where you can see the tape very, very clearly,
and the beard,
and a taped-on beard where you can also still see that it's a taped-on beard he bought from Party City. Now, you know what? I've been kind of cool to this movie so far.
Yeah.
You know what? If you want to make movies, that's awesome. If this is the kind of movie that you want to make, great.
Wow.
For you, don't make me pay money to watch it, one, and also don't actually do it anymore. Do it for yourself. Watch it for yourself, and please never release a movie ever again. I feel bad for any person involved in this movie. Like, every time another actor was on screen, I could just see their souls getting sucked out of their bodies and being like, man, I came to Hollywood. I wanted to be an actor, you know? And, you know, I was like, I'll take any break I can get. And the only call I got was from Neil Breen.
A 61-year-old man.
A 61-year-old man who thinks he's a genius, but also he may be a genius because, like, I think what he does is he's pretending to be serious just so he can make out with random women in his movies because no one will talk to him otherwise because he's a balding, gross, greasy-looking dude. And
so this is what the plot of the movie is.
I don't even know. We're wasting people's time.
Basically, there's two brothers who were separated at birth, and one has superpowers because of...
They were captured.
They were captured, yeah.
By artificial intelligence aliens who then turned the twin brothers into humanoid AI biomolecular humanoids.
And so one
of them didn't want to do it anymore, so he left.
He left and became a drug and alcohol addict.
But is still a humanoid.
Mm-hmm.
Neil Breen is a humanoid.
Neil Breen plays both brothers.
Neil Breen is also... Cade was the messed up guy. Kale is the other one. And the more I talk about this movie, the more...
I can see the brain cells just
dying.
The
more my life essence is getting drained, and I would like to talk about literally anything else. If you want to, like, hurt someone... If you just, like, want to hurt someone but not get in trouble for it because you're actually not physically assaulting them, make them watch this movie. That's what I would say.
You have to...
Pretend to be friends with your bullies and then say, we're going to watch a great movie, and then make them watch this and then lock the door and then unlock it when the movie's done. That will be enough torture for them to never, ever mess with you again. Or speak with you, but they'll never mess with you because...
It seemed like I was doing a Clockwork Orange trap on you, making you watch these torturous videos with your eyes, clamped open. So anyway, Nate absolutely loved it, and I also really loved it as well. His third movie, Fateful Findings, I feel like is better than Twisted Pair because I actually understood what was going on in Fateful Findings. Twisted Pair, I had no idea what the heck was going on. It was so confusing. It was so stupidly, irritatingly unacceptable. And the acting was just so absolutely bad. I loved it. And I am so glad I spent $30 plus shipping on it.
That alone just makes me respect you less. I just don't respect you anymore.
So anyway, if you guys are wanting to get into Neil Breen's work, definitely search him up on YouTube. Support.
He's trying to get A24 to fund his next film.
Yes.
He says he's done with crowdfunding and
he wants
self-funding.
Yeah.
So he's like, I've had 5 theatrical releases.
He sounds just like that, but even slower and deeper.
5 theatrical releases that were all profitable. Fund me, A24.
Oh, so I do have a question. Who was the bad guy in Twisted Pair? Was it Neil Breen? Was it Kale?
It was...
Or was it the guy in the scarf with the Snapchat
I
filter
think it
on?
was Kale because he was murdering people.
He was murdering people. Talk about the production design. What did you think with the production design?
Well, the college campus they filmed at one night was pretty nice college campus. They walked down the same pathway 30,000 times and just pretend they're in a different location each time without actually changing anything. They sit at a lunch area in one scene, and then in another scene, they pretend that lunch area is actually a fancy restaurant that isn't the exact same area they were sitting in like 10 minutes ago.
And that it was such a high quality restaurant that no one was there.
Can we please move on?
Yes.
I can't take it anymore.
So anyway, definitely check out Neil Breen's work. Search him up on YouTube. I promise you'll have a extremely fun time watching his videos. All right. So, out of we had a very Breen full time talking about that. How about we talk about something that I can actually still consider a movie? Birds of Prey, or the
The Fantabulous Emancipation of One Harley Quinn, or now its third title, Harley Quinn: Birds of Prey. This is a film. I'm still recovering from that last conversation. This is a film starring Margot Robbie once again as Harley Quinn.
Ewan McGregor.
Has Ewan McGregor as Black Mask. It's got Mary Elizabeth Winstead as Huntress. Black Canary is in it.
Which we don't. I forgot the. Let me look it up.
Renee Montoya is in it. This is a film that thinks it's
Rosie Perez.
that thinks it's like good, but it's kind of not. It doesn't know what it. You know what? I'm actually kind of losing my mind.
Do you want me to talk about it?
Talking about Neil Breen really messed me up.
Should we have talked about this first and then Neil
Probably
Breen?
should have talked about this first. I'm so discombobulated right now.
I'll talk about Birds of Prey. So while Nathan regains his thought, Birds of Prey and the Fabulous Emancipation of One Harley Quinn is part of the DCEU. And it is... How many movies is it in so far? The DCEU? How many? I don't know. Probably the 8th or 9th. Anyway, it's coming right after Suicide Squad. Basically, Harley and Joker break up.
I'm getting there.
And
I'm slowly recovering.
They break up, and Harley's, losing it. She's like, oh man, I'm so sad. But at the same time, she's like, nah, I'm all right. And basically, because her and Joker broke up, everybody that she has wronged is now coming after her because they were scared of the Joker, but now the Joker doesn't have anything to do with her anymore. They're going to try to kill her. And one day, while Harley Quinn was getting a bacon, egg, cheese sandwich with just a dash of hot sauce, everybody starts to come after her because she drunkenly
blew up the
chemical plant.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And she, for some reason, left her necklace because it had.
She was drunk.
Yeah, she was drunk. She left her necklace down on there, and then everyone starts going
Black
after
Mask
her.
Decides he wants to kill her, and then yeah, that's the plot. I'm back.
Oh,
I've
and
recovered.
you're recovered.
I'm back now.
So, basically, this is one that was like, oh, hey, they're the bad guys, but they're actually the good guys.
Yeah.
They basically just remade Suicide Squad, but with all women.
That's the unfortunate thing, because this cast is really good.
It's a very great cast.
And I think the director had a certain vision for this movie, and then Warner Brothers came in and just went, was it Kathy Yan? Yeah, Kathy Yan. I think she had an idea of what she wanted to do. And then the studio came in and said, how about we don't do that, but we're actually not going to reshoot anything. We're just going to splice your movie together with some voiceover. That's what it feels like. I hope that's what it is, because I hope that wasn't what her idea was.
I'm trying to remember the movie. Basically,
the movie could probably be an hour long, but for the first like hour 15, it's just composed of.
It's still the first act.
Yeah, it's composed of voiceover and constant flashbacks to the same scenes that, like, I don't know. They just keep repeating the same scenes just from a different angle, but not enough is different for it to really feel like a different scene.
And we're supposed to the way that it's told is that it's supposed to be relating to how Harley Quinn thinks, but at the same time, it's like, okay, we understand that, but you need to establish that she forgets stuff and she doesn't know how to tell a compelling and straight through story.
Yeah, she's an unreliable narrator who we have no reason to believe she's totally unreliable until
she's bad.
Until she's like, actually, you can't believe anything I say. She literally tells the audience that, which is like, I don't know. It's just kind of a baffling movie. It just feels like a bunch of scenes that were put together, and then Black Mask and stuff. Like, there's a bunch of action scenes. Like, they get the choreographers from John Wick to do the action scenes, like, which is like awesome, and you can tell the choreography is good.
It's better
when you can actually see what's going on. Problem is, they then do so much like retroactive slow motion and crazy color schemes and rapid fire editing that the good choreography that's there
is completely wasted.
Like, you can't see it. Like, there's one good action scene in the movie where they do like a one take of like all the different characters doing stuff, and it's actually cool. I was like, dang.
And it's at the very end.
I was like, I wish this was more of the movie, which is a big part of the problem. If this is a Birds of Prey origin story,
it's a terrible.
It's a really bad origin story
because it only focuses on Harley Quinn, and they throw Black Canary, Huntress,
Renee Montoya, Cassidy Kane.
Yeah, all throughout this tiny.
They give them like
sections
dashes of them
in the middle,
and then we find out like all of their backstory at like the very end, and then they go fight together, and then the movie's done. Yeah, and it's just really discombobulating. Like, they have a good cast, and they just don't utilize it. Margot Robbie is awesome as Harley Quinn. She's amazing. Yep. She's the perfect cast for Harley Quinn. I'm really glad she's coming back for The Suicide Squad, directed by James Gunn.
Yes. Hopefully
it's good. And then Ewan McGregor was fantastic as Black Mask. He was hilarious.
I feel like the best performances were Ewan McGregor and Margot Robbie.
And not that any of the other people were bad. It's just they had like no real meat to chew on script-wise. Like, the script is fine, but
the editing,
it sinks the whole movie. Like, the editing is like if I took your head and then went like this for an hour and a half and then said, "Did you like that?" And then I was like, "Well, I don't know what I just watched, really. So no, I guess."
Just like Twisted Pair.
No, we're not bringing that up.
Oh, the visual effects in Twisted Pair.
No, we're not going back there. We're not going back there. Focus. Focus.
I'm sorry.
The effects are fine.
Yeah.
The acting is good. The plot, what plot there is fine. The problem is just the way they tell the story and the editing. It just sinks. It sinks everything for me. The movie clearly is like, please have fun. Please have fun. Here's this music. But they forget that you actually have to have a good narrative to make a movie fun.
Did you know that Harley named her hyena Bruce?
Yeah.
That's a reference to the Batman.
Well, and it's also tough because it really does feel like a Suicide Squad clone instead of fixing what was wrong with that movie.
Exactly.
Because that movie had good cast.
Mm-hmm.
It had decent effects sometimes. And then it had high energy music, lots of colors. But the editing was so bad and the structure of the film was just so poor, the movie sucked.
I do have a question for you.
And yes.
Then go
okay, I was going to say, this movie is not as bad as Suicide Squad because of what the director intended was probably better than what David Ayer intended. But in both cases, the studio came in, I guess they didn't like what they saw. I have no idea. And just did this like post. I have no confirmation if this actually happened, but this is what it feels like. This is they went in post and just chopped it up, put some voiceover on it, and then we're like, put a bunch of loud music in it. I don't know.
Probably.
It's really just, it's baffling because DC's been kind of on a hot streak lately with letting directors do what they want, staying hands off, and then letting them just make their stories. And I don't at all think that's what happened here. Because, like, it's, yeah, I don't know.
I do have a question. Do you think that this movie benefited of the R rating?
They didn't really use it. They just used it to drop some F-bombs and for blood.
That's honestly it. And some sexual jokes.
Yeah, they made some sex jokes.
Which didn't really land.
Yeah, there was some blood, there was some language.
It probably would have been...
They really didn't utilize it at all, because even in some of the violent bits where you think, like, oh, they're going for it, they actually kind of cut away.
Yeah, they cut away to someone's reaction, and there's like...
That's where I think it's clear that the director had an idea, and then the studio tried to tame it down and realized they couldn't do it.
Yeah.
They couldn't tame it down enough to get PG-13. So, I don't know. It's just difficult to describe this one. So, anyways, that's kind of our jumbled up thoughts on Birds of Prey. There's some good parts of it. There's some parts I didn't like. It all comes down to the editing. Yep. The editing sinks it. If it was told, not even just a lot of people have said like it's Tarantino-esque because of the non-linear editing, and I think that's kind of an insult to anybody that utilizes non-linear editing in a good way, like Tarantino or Nolan or Scorsese. Like, they utilize that to keep the forward motion of the film going at all times. They don't repeat themselves. They're just going back and forth because the story is better served that way. The story is not better served by chopping it up and showing you bits and pieces at a time. It does that to pad the runtime and then to, I think, trick you into thinking that it's a high-octane fun time when really it's a mess and just not worth your money at all.
Yeah, and in some scenes when it's just, oh no, Ian McGregor has Harley Quinn tied up to a chair. What are they going to do? Then all of a sudden, just randomly cuts to like a Marilyn Monroe parody.
Yeah, that was the weirdest edit. She's about to get interrogated.
That was terrible.
Yeah, she's about to get interrogated, and then I forgot all about this, but she's about to get interrogated. She's like, what do I do? They cut to a Marilyn Monroe-esque dance scene for about 30 seconds. Then they cut back to the movie. She's like, I have an idea. And then she's fine now. And they don't explain what that dance was, like, at all.
I don't understand that.
And
it was the weirdest
my girlfriend leaned over to me, and she goes, that was, like, the worst edit I've ever seen in my life. Needless, let me tell you, she doesn't complain about editing in a movie.
Nope. She
hates it when I do this, because she's like, you're just ruining a movie I like because of these nitpicks or whatever. But for the first time, she leaned over to me and goes, that edit was like awful. It was the worst thing I've ever seen. And she just complained about the editing at the end as the reason why it sucked. And I was like, you know what? You're entirely right. Because that's exactly, you are right. 120%. That's the reason the movie sucks.
Yep.
That's it. So,
basically,
I wish we had more positive things to talk about. This is a really negative episode.
Yeah, I mean, we can talk about really good stuff.
Yeah, so let's talk about some better things, but we're still going to start off at the worst.
So I'm going to say the worst movie.
You're not going to introduce a segment?
Oh, yes. So we are going to talk about the entire list of the DCEU extended universe movies.
Worst to best?
Worst to best, yes. Okay. So I'm going to start off at Suicide Squad. I feel like Suicide Squad is the worst DC movie.
DCEU movie.
DCEU movie because of how completely incompetent it is, of how, one, the acting is terrible. 2, you can't see anything.
Yeah.
It was completely boring.
Somehow they made Will Smith and Margot Robbie not entertaining.
They completely overly sexualized Margot Robbie.
Yeah, that's also true.
Even
that's one thing. Actually, one thing I will commend Birds of Prey for.
They didn't over sexualize her.
They don't sexualize anything in the film, which I think is good. It's a good thing because you just treat the characters as characters,
as themselves.
I just wish they didn't waste that on a movie that is like a limp. It's just a limp.
See, when I first saw...
There's no life to it at all.
When I first saw Suicide Squad, I was like, oh my gosh, I absolutely loved it. Then I saw it again, and I'm like, oh, okay.
I think everybody tricked themselves into liking it because the trailer was so good.
Yeah, they had
the trailers were great.
It was the Bohemian Rhapsody.
Yeah, and the funny thing was, that trailer was so popular, Warner Brothers said, actually... you guys edit the movie, make it more like that. When that wasn't at all what the tone of the movie was. I will say, yeah, and that goes to my other points. The editing and the soundtrack was unneeded. The editing was super choppy. You could not understand or see what was going on. And the soundtrack was like, oh, hey, you like this popular song? Here we go. There you go. There's the popular song. It was a clear attempt to cash in on the good vibes from Guardians. And honestly, it just focused on Harley and Deadshot. And then Joker was in it for some reason. You know, which is also a very unnecessarily thing because Jared Leto, I mean, I've seen him act. He's a good actor. I've seen him in a Requiem
my thing
for
is,
a Dream.
I think he actually could have been a good Joker.
Yeah, it was just the direction.
Nothing to do.
The direction was terrible.
The direction's bad and the dialogue is bad.
It was made for the fans.
Anytime a director says that, that means their movie sucks.
Yeah.
And they're insulting your intelligence. If you believe a director that says it's made for the fans, then they're insulting your intelligence by saying, these idiots like these comic books. I can sell them whenever I want, instead of actually giving them quality products.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm agreeing with you. That's my worst as well.
It's your worst? Okay, I will also let you know, I have not seen Man of Steel. So I've seen a bootleg version when it came out in 2013. I've seen a bootleg version.
What?
One of my friends' parents had like an Amazon Fire Stick or something and streamed it, and it was like an actual video cam.
Wow.
So I am not going to talk about Man of Steel because I haven't seen it. So whatever.
I'm gonna go to my
I'm gonna let Nate talk about it when it comes up, and I'm gonna agree because I haven't seen it.
So my Suicide Squad is my worst. I agree with Tripp. My, I guess, second worst would be...
Can we say it at the same time?
Is it also yours?
I think so.
Batman versus Superman, Dawn of Justice. The director's cut, the regular cut, I don't care. Both are terrible.
But they're absolutely terrible. Okay, I will say one thing. I think that the director's cut, the R-rated cut, or the ultimate cut edition, I don't know what it's called, I will say that I enjoyed that a little bit more because I understood a little bit more of it. It kind of explained more of the movie, in my own opinion. I'm just saying, because of how Superman couldn't see the freaking lead in that guy's wheelchair.
It's still stupid, but
No, it's 100% stupid. And then, anyway... But it's still terrible. Dawn of Justice.
It's like 8 movies in one. It's
trying
to be a Superman movie. It's trying to be a Batman movie. It's trying to be a Justice League origin movie.
It's trying to be a Wonder Woman.
Doomsday, like Death of Superman movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's trying to be. I don't even know. It's trying to be Dark Knight Returns.
And for some reason, Jesse Eisenberg, I love him. I think he's a great actor. But he was...
Tripp, you just didn't understand the nuance that he was going for with his performance.
He was completely miscast.
Of course.
Honestly, I'd rather have Jesse Eisenberg play the Joker. I think Jared Leto should have been Lex Luthor, and Jesse Eisenberg should have been Joker. In my own opinion. Because well, one, they're both terrible. But two, Jesse Eisenberg, you want a Jolly Rancher? Like, and then he sticks it in the guy's mouth. What was that? And why was Miss Incredible in there?
Yeah.
Elastigirl? Why was she in that
Poor
movie?
Holly Hunter. She deserves better.
She does deserve better. And the thing that really made me mad is this is back in 2015 when the first trailer came out, or 2016. I can't remember. It was when they showed Doomsday at the very end of the trailer. And that's when I told myself, I don't want to watch movie trailers anymore. Because, of course, that completely ruined the shock and the surprise of seeing Doomsday at the end of the movie.
Yeah, this film is terrible. It completely misunderstands what these characters represent. Now, I understand doing like a different take on these characters. That's fine. But when nothing about the characters resembles what they represent to millions of people, and it's not like, say, giving them a new character arc. It's just literally being like, hey, Batman kills people, Superman kills people, because there is no reason for it. Even if you want them to do that, because I'm Zack Snyder and I'm a genius. Zack Snyder should never be allowed to pick up a comic book in his life. He is an egotistical maniac who thinks he's a genius and isn't. He's not a talented director. He can't write. It's honestly like just genuinely offensive that he plays into the fanboys of him. Somehow he has fans of their like fantasies about what makes a good film. And I think he has made 1.5 good movies, and we'll talk about one of those later. But this film is not.
Oh, did he make Man
this?
of Steel?
Stop!
Oh, okay.
Stop!
I'm sorry.
Let me. You're spoiling the list.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Go on.
But this, he lets all his vices come out in this film. It's overly shot. It's oversaturated with every color. It's dark, gritty, and violent without justifying it. Like, say Logan, for example. This guy.
I'm very slippery with my
man.
finger. I can't help my apple.
Take Logan, for example. It is significantly darker in tone in terms of, like, it's darker in terms of what happens. You know, people die, there's blood, it's violent, it's, you know, there's a lot of dark themes discussed. But it actually still feels in line with the X-Men universe. It still feels like those characters. It just feels like an evolution. Whereas with what Snyder does here is like, hey, do you like these characters? Awesome. They're not going to be anything like even close. It's not even a character arc. It's just they're actually a different character. Mm-hmm. And it's just terrible. And we're going to move on.
We're going to move on. My third one is Justice League. I don't know if you agree with me because you're not saying anything.
I do.
Okay, you do. Okay, yeah. I was going to say I really hope so because
Yeah.
if you say any of those other movies are better than Justice League, okay. So yeah, I had a difficult time deciding on whether I wanted to put Justice League below Batman v Superman or above Batman v Superman. And the reason why I have it above is because I could somewhat see the action. It wasn't dark.
You could see it, and it wasn't 3 hours long.
It was not. And I liked Batman.
The cast they have is good. And they wasted it.
100%.
But the cast is good. And
I
think
liked
that's
Gal
really...
Gadot. Gal Gadot gets a point for me.
Yep. And we can...
Gal Gadot...
I think that's all we need to say about
That's all we need to say about Justice League. Justice League is a movie.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So, Nate, what is your fourth?
My fourth is Birds of Prey.
Ooh, okay.
We just talked about this movie at length, so that's why it's there.
All right. I'll say my fourth. Like I said, I'm going to say Man of Steel. I'm going to say my fourth is Aquaman.
Mm.
Ooh.
Hard disagree.
Then I'll say my next one is Birds of Prey. but this is why I'm going to say Aquaman.
Okay.
Because one, Aquaman is supposed to be a character that you can't take seriously. And when you dress him up as a giant, muscular, Jason Momoa looking figure with a plot that is all over the place, is incredibly boring, has a villain that is so poorly written and unneeded, when you have a third act that is just a bunch of CGI squids and crabs fighting each other. I can't even remember how this movie ends. Does it end how...
Here, we'll talk about it because it's my next film, but I actually think this is a good movie. I think it's actually really good.
I think it's super funny. And I don't like Amber Heard in it.
Well, we're not going to discuss Amber Heard because she's a piece of crap. But
yes,
anyways.
I'm glad you agree with me.
Aquaman, I think, is actually a good movie.
Okay.
I think it embraces what is great about the character. This movie is not meant to be taken seriously. It's simply a fun, to use the words of Martin Scorsese, is a fun roller coaster ride. It is worth the price of admission. The effects are fun. I enjoyed them. The plot, yeah, it's kind of dumb, but I mean, it's a movie about Aquaman, right? So Jason Momoa is having a good time, which makes me have a good time.
Okay.
And so the action, I can see what's happening. It's fun. The villain is over the top and cheesy, which a movie called Aquaman should be. If a movie called Aquaman was directed by Christopher Nolan, it would suck. I know Christopher Nolan's great, but you simply can't make a guy like Aquaman like threatening in a way that's like he's actually intimidating. But you can make him over the top like Schwarzenegger in Commando. That movie should not be taken seriously. It should be enjoyed because it's an over the top cheesy movie. And Aquaman knows what it is. James Wan directed it well, and I think it's a good time.
There's also two villains in Aquaman. Remember Black Mantis?
Yeah, his action scene is the best in the film.
I will
doing the
agree.
rooftop chase.
I will agree with that.
That was awesome.
I will say when his father died was the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life in a movie.
No, you just watched Twisted Pair. You don't get to say that. You don't get to say that.
Now the reason why I've chosen Birds of Prey, saying that that's better than Aquaman, is because I liked the action a little bit more in Birds of Prey, and I liked the characters more in Birds of Prey than Aquaman.
Mm-hmm.
If like Aquaman's super jumbled and Birds of Prey is super jumbled, but I don't know.
It's a toss up for you.
Even McGregor's good at it.
Okay.
All right. So what is your? I just told my two. Nate, tell.
My next is Man of Steel.
Okay.
This is the only good film Zack Snyder has ever made.
What about 300?
That movie's not good.
Ooh,
300's not good.
Ooh.
Man of Steel is not great, but it does get a lot of things right about Superman. It gets some things wrong, but it does get a lot of things right.
Shows him
I
grown
thought
up.
his origin was cool. I really like how they show him growing up as a farm, dealing with the loss of his father, his connection with Lois Lane. I thought that was well done. The action with Zod I think Zod is actually a pretty good villain. He's over the top, like I keep saying, but it's all right. The effects are good. The problems that come up with it when he just recklessly kills thousands of people in the city because he's slamming Zod into a bunch of buildings, even though he knows that won't hurt him. So there's problems there, but I think in this case, it gets enough right about Superman. Like, I represent hope. I want to represent hope for humanity. I think that works, and it is an entertaining movie. The action is entertaining, if not a bit problematic. If Batman v Superman was handled better, I think Man of Steel would actually be better as a result because some of the choices in it could make more sense. I see what they tried to go for, like
The very beginning.
Yeah. So I think it's a well-made film. but it wasn't good enough for DC. It was not good enough to justify Zack Snyder being like the Kevin Feige of DC, which is what they tried to make him. Just let that sink in for a second. But yeah, it's a fun movie. It represents Superman well. It's not the best Superman film, but it was an enjoyable movie.
Yep.
What's next for you?
Now I know your top one, I'm pretty sure, and I think that's mine. I'm going to say my next one is Shazam. And the reason why I love Shazam is because it doesn't take itself seriously at all. And it's aware of that, and it's done correctly. Now, granted, it does have a villain that, just doesn't really hit
But that's
as well.
also
But
the point.
yeah, it's all
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah.
My favorite scene of the entire movie is when
They're like a mile apart.
Mark
Yeah.
Strong is talking, and he's just talking like this. And then she
What?
sounds like,
I can't
"What?"
hear. Yeah.
That is my favorite.
This is also my next pick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like David F. Sandberg completely crushed it with the casting and the directing. I don't know if he wrote it, but it was so much fun. I saw it twice in theaters. I had a great time watching it, and I just love how self-aware it actually is. The story actually makes sense. It had a very cohesive story. Yeah, Nate, what do you talk about Shazam?
Yeah, it was well done. It's like was a superhero film, which I know a lot of people have said. But Zachary Levi as Shazam is perfect casting.
Phenomenal.
He has a lot of energy to him. The kid from It, I'm blanking on his name. I knew it 5 seconds ago, and now that I'm trying to say it, I don't remember. But that kid is hilarious. He has really good comedic timing. He has good chemistry with the kid version of Shazam, Billy Batson. And so it is a insignificant film. It's very small. It's not some world is going to end type stuff. They set that up. Well, Jack Dylan Glazer, that's right. He is hilarious. He was one of the best parts of It, which is a fantastic film, and he's also probably the best part about this film.
No,
the action is helmed well.
Mm-hmm.
The having a kid
play an adult,
having
an adult
playing
man
a kid being an adult
yeah.
it's just fun to have that kind of dynamic. And the ending of the film with the Shazam family, I knew a little bit about Shazam comics. I didn't think they were going to bring that in.
I had no idea about that.
And that was really cool to see that on the big screen, because I read a couple of those as a kid. And so, yeah, I'm excited for Shazam 2. I hope we get that.
Definitely.
And so
now
that leaves one film for us to talk about.
Can we say it at the same time? 3, 2, 1. Captain Marvel.
Wonder Woman.
Captain Marvel is a Wonder Woman.
Sure.
Wonderful woman.
I like Captain Marvel, but Wonder Woman is the best DC film. And one of the best comic book films ever made.
Yeah. 100%. Wonder Woman is so good until the final act. So good that I actually cared about the world. It completely made her the best part of Batman v Superman, because I loved watching her character and getting to see the backstory of how she actually got to be in Batman v Superman. Basically, I also loved Chris Pine as well. Whew, goodness gracious. I haven't seen it in so long. I've only seen it like once or twice. But I really, really enjoyed all of it. I can't wait for the sequel. The reason why I say the third act does not work is because I really wanted it to end when Diana was like, oh, so Hades doesn't exist. And I was told something my entire life, and it wasn't real. And, oh, okay, well then there's the end. And then Chris Pine goes and sacrifices himself.
Well,
And then they do a giant CGI battle with Professor from the Professor Lupin, I think he is from
it's
Harry
also
Potter.
Ares, not Hades.
Ares. Oh yeah, never mind. I knew it wasn't Hades.
The God of War.
Yes, like I said, I haven't seen it in a long time.
I'm glad you're prepared for this.
I'm super prepared.
Yeah, I'm glad you prepared. Thanks for preparing. I don't mind the fight at the end. The CGI is bad, but that's because it's produced by Zack Snyder, and so I don't expect any of that in this next one. But I personally disagree with you. I do not think that it should have ended there because Wonder Woman is born from a god, so gods have to exist in that universe for the character to work at all. And I think that Ares existing is important because they still did a lot with Ares. Ares is like, yeah, I didn't even have to do anything. They did this kind of themselves. You know, he's just benefiting from humans' mistakes. So she's understanding that there's good in humanity, but that not everything can be blamed by killing someone. Like, yes, she stops Ares, but she also knows that that's not going to end wars for forever. So I think Steve Trevor's sacrifice was great. The chemistry that she had with Chris Pine was fantastic. It's basically a fish out of water story, and those are typically entertaining, and this one is really entertaining. Patty Jenkins had a vision for it, and I think she completely knocked it out of the park. And I actually expect this next film to be better.
100%.
Because I think they're going to give her more of a leash and not have her adhere closely to what was established by Zack Snyder, because Zack Snyder's a hack who should never direct another film. So.
You're absolutely right. I feel like the action is the best out of any DC movie. And this, now I do crap on the ending, but I was still entertained while I watched it.
Mm-hmm.
So, I do have one question for you, Nate. Who's more of a hack, Zack Snyder or Neil Breen?
I want to say Zack Snyder because I dislike him so much, but no, it's if I say anything but Neil Breen, I should just not talk about movies forever. But yeah, I mean, that's what we got for this week.
Yeah, that's our podcast. What do you want to talk about next week?
We'll keep it a secret.
Keep it a secret. All right, I got you.
Yeah.
All right, well, thank you guys so much for watching A Trip to the Movies podcast. Definitely check out both of our Instagrams, All Things Reviewed, A Trip to the Movies. Check out our letterboxes. If you're watching this on YouTube, definitely subscribe, like the video, comment something, and I'm trying to put the podcast on different platforms, because I know not a lot of people want to have their phone or tablet or computer open while they're watching the podcast all the time, and they can't go into another app or lock their phone. And unless you have YouTube Premium, which who has YouTube Premium?
Who has YouTube Premium?
Totally not me. It's really, really fun to listen to videos while the phone's locked. Anyway, but if anyone could maybe help me or reach out to me, that would be absolutely fantastic.
About what? You didn't say about what.
Oh, I didn't say that? Oh, sorry. About trying to help me put the podcast, the audio only, onto different platforms, like maybe Spotify or Podcast app or Pandora, iTunes, anything like that. That would be absolutely fantastic. Right, well, thank you guys for sticking around and watching the podcast. I would like to thank Nathan.
Yep.
And we'll see you guys later, all right? Have a great day. Goodbye, guys.
Bye.